All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So we had Dave Jenks speak on Friday, and he talked a little bit about the monkey mind and training our monkey mind and being aware of it. And I had mentioned it in last week's Mindful Morning Moment, but I thought since Dave Jenks brought it up, that it would make sense today to spend a little bit more time talking about exactly what it is, and how we can be conscious of it, and how being aware of this as a concept can kind of help us be non-judgmental and in our moment, in the moment with the thoughts. So here's a Headspace video kind of explaining what the monkey mind is.
It's quite normal when we start to meditate for the mind to jump around all over the place. We might find it tends to chase after all the little things, to be constantly moving about, from the present to the past to the future, in fact to rarely be still at all. Fortunately, the mind can be tamed, not by forcing it to stop or trying to make it sit still. We don't want to trap it. That would just stir it up and create even more movement. But by training the mind, having an awareness of when our attention has wandered off, and gently bringing it back with a kind and friendly hand. In this way, the mind slowly becomes a little less restless. It also becomes more comfortable with this idea of sitting still. In fact, it might even come to enjoy it. This analogy for the mind has been around for thousands of years. Thankfully, so has the knowledge that, with time and practice, we can learn to train this monkey.
So that actually specific video was really helpful for me when I found it through Headspace when I was starting to use it to meditate, because I really liked that it addressed the fact that you have wandering thoughts very frequently when you're meditating, and just reminding you to just be kinder to yourself and kindly bring your mind back to what you're focusing on, which is usually the breath if you're meditating. But I think that this can apply to many areas of our life, not just when we're meditating, when we're trying to fall asleep, or when we're trying to focus on work and we have these kind of rushing, maybe anxious thoughts running through our heads, is just acknowledging and being more aware of what our mind is doing, and realizing that, and then calmly and kindly bringing it back, not being upset with yourself for being distracted, not being upset with yourself for thinking about those things, just accepting that that's what your mind was doing and calmly bringing it back to what you want to focus on in the moment. So I actually learned today in preparing for this, that the monkey mind is a Buddhist principle dating back thousands of years. So it's not, a modern term. It's tied to a more modern mindful movement. But it is a very old term with its origins in the Buddhist teachings, which was really interesting to me. So here's a Psychology Today article talking about how to calm that monkey mind, that inner voice that hinders your success. In bold, we also call it a drunk monkey, right? It's that voice in your head that's most tied to your ego, telling you things that you can't do very frequently, kind of being that negative thought in your head. So the first step to doing so, it recommends, is just being grounded and calm in the mind. So that's where meditating can really come in handy to help you do that. So here it talks about the ego. So the ego has the ability to create these false thoughts, that inner chatter that we hear most often. In fact, it's a voice in our heads that we sometimes tell to shut up, right? When you can't kind of turn off that negative audio in your head, because it can become really overwhelming and help you lose touch with reality. If you're spending so much time being anxious and worried about things that could potentially happen in the future, you're not focusing on the moment that you're in right now, or making the most of that moment, or doing the activities you need to do to reach your goals to achieve a positive future, right? So if you're just spending this time thinking negatively, it's not going to necessarily help you get anywhere positive. So the reason why during meditation it's a good idea to let thoughts come and go rather than becoming obsessed with them or focusing on anything in particular, is to help is to give that kind of gentle guidance to your thoughts. just being, what mindfulness is all about, right, is just being more aware of the present moment. And that applies to meditation in that present moment, right? You're focusing on the breath, but it also applies to carrying it through your day as well. And just being aware of how you're feeling right now. What kind of thoughts are you having? Because our thoughts create our actions. And we do, as much as we think we don't have much control over our thoughts, we absolutely do, and how we react and how we react to them. So you could have a negative thought, but since meditating and becoming more aware of mindfulness and being more purposeful about it, I'm able to catch myself when I'm having those negative thoughts and think about, why am I feeling so negative right now? The first question I ask myself is, am I hungry? Because I definitely have those hunger issues sometimes, and can be a little bit negative just when I'm hungry. Did I get enough sleep? Am I feeling overwhelmed? Because sometimes we might feel overwhelmed with everything we have to do. We feel like we're being pulled in a lot of different directions. And just, if you can catch yourself thinking those thoughts and try to think about, what's really causing this? What am I really upset about? That can be really helpful for you in figuring out, how to kind of solve that problem. Is it that, am I feeling really overwhelmed? Like, okay, well, let me look at my calendar and time block for time to complete all these activities I need to do. Because once you've put it on your calendar, right, it exists, right? Bold law, if it's not on your calendar, it doesn't exist. So you've blocked out the time to do that. And then if you have that intrusive thought, like, oh, I have to do this, or, maybe you're laying in bed at night and thinking about all the things you need to do, you're able to tell yourself, but I know when I'm going to get that done. Tuesday at 6 p.m. is when I'm going to get that project done. You can tell yourself that you have that time. So it's a little bit easier, to kind of calm and quiet those thoughts sometimes. This is another article on the monkey mind from pocketmindfulness.com. And it again goes through these, a lot of times kind of anxiety inducing thoughts we can have. What happens if I lose my job? I wonder if my partner is unhappy. What if I don't have enough money to retire, right? These are very common thoughts for us to have. So it, of course, relating to the monkey mind, kind of how the metaphor works is, just as a monkey swings through the trees, grabbing one branch and lets go to seize another, so too that which is a thought, mind, or consciousness arises and disappears continually, both day and night. So our thoughts, we swing from one branch to another if we consider a thought like a branch. So when we're being aware, we're accompanied by the ego, that chattering monkey, that drunk monkey, inner monologue, whatever you want to call it. With the noise of this monkey going on, it becomes near impossible to be present and focused on the moment that we're in. Instead, we're carrying away through the treetops. Because of our innate capacity for thinking, it's easy for the monkey mind to focus on stimuli. But when we give our attention to too many things at once, spend our lives rushing from one appointment to another, and focusing on what we are yet to do instead of what we are currently doing, these are like dozens of trees with enticing fruit to chase. But the point is, we need to, instead focus on the moment and focus on what we're doing, because the moment is the only time we have the potential right now to make a difference, right? So the only thing we can really control is what we're doing right now. And then we just have to, kind of develop this more kindness and non-judgmentalness for ourselves, and trust ourselves to get things done, later or in the future. A big part of this monkey mind too, especially related to meditating, is not getting frustrated or upset with yourself when you do lose focus on the breath, when your mind is kind of brought away from that original purpose. And it's just kind of being aware of those racing thoughts in your mind and gently bringing it back, and that non-judgmental attitude. Because I think we all talk about being judgmental as a fairly negative, being judgmental is usually a negative quality, right? We don't want to consider ourselves judgmental of others, but we very infrequently I don't frequently hear people talk about applying that to themselves as well. And I think that, being kind to others starts with being kind to ourselves, and extending that non-judgment, and just gentleness to ourselves, and forgiving ourselves when we have those racing thoughts, forgiving ourselves when we don't need to do, when we're not doing exactly what we need to do, to not beat ourselves up too much. And again, just focus on like, okay, I didn't do my one thing activity yesterday, but I'm going to do it today. Or, what does that mean? How do I need to adjust my schedule? Do I need to block out more time? And just kind of being kinder to yourself, and allowing yourself, the grace, right, to make mistakes, to get distracted, but then bringing yourself back and really focusing on what you're trying to achieve in the moment. So this is a meditation. We won't do this one today, but this one's specifically focused on just cultivating a non-judgmental awareness. That's really what mindfulness kind of all traces back to, is that non-judgmental awareness of, what's going on around you, what are the thoughts that you're having, and not necessarily judging them, but analyzing them maybe, not immediately attaching an emotional impact to what's happening, but just taking in what's happening as almost like data collection, right? I think it's, especially with everything going on in our state, country, world right now, it would be easy to say that, everything is terrible. So many people are suffering, and that's not, I'm not saying everything is terrible. There are lots of people suffering. There's definitely certain challenges, but we don't want to immediately attach an emotional meaning to that. It's just kind of, we have to look at it, as, this is the environment we have right now. And what do I need to do to, take care of myself, my loved ones? How can I balance helping others, in terms of also, reaching my goals? There's still so many positive things that are happening right now as well. I think when, there are times of struggle, we also see a lot of people, stepping up to help. Mr. Rogers has that quote of, when he was a child and something bad happened, his mom told him to look for the helpers, because there's always people helping. And I think we've really seen that now as well, with doctors and nurses stepping up, to help save lives, with, our own agents collecting money to feed either those doctors and nurses, like David Monahan is doing, or like the Butevich sisters collecting food for people whose jobs have been severely impacted. My family members are constantly making masks or raising donations to get more food to local food banks, since they're running out of non-perishables so quickly. So there are so many people that are doing positive things as well. So we don't want to just, immediately assign these negative feelings and start feeling so negative about everything that's happening, right? It's all, there's a balance of things going on. And it's just training the mind to kind of, again, non-judgmentally interpret information of what's going on, not immediately assigning that emotional weight to it, so that we can just kind of be more aware and present in the moment. So meditation really gives us the chance to practice giving ourselves permission to feel exactly what we feel, even if we're not as okay as we'd like to be. So meditation also can be that moment where you can, if you're having trouble, really noticing your thoughts and being in control of them, I strongly recommend meditation incorporating into your daily practice, just to strengthen that muscle, right? We go to the gym repetitively to build our physical muscles, and then meditation is kind of like going to the gym, but for your brain. So you kind of start to, that will be what helps you start to just become more aware of your thoughts and how your kind of mind is racing, and start to gain that control. And you don't only see the benefits of meditation, right? You see it throughout the day. You'll feel yourself starting to get more overwhelmed, and acknowledge it, and knowing what you can do to kind of calm down from it. And if sitting still and meditation doesn't work well for you, right? We've talked before, when we were going through that first step in Savor silence, about how it doesn't necessarily have to be, you sitting cross-legged in a comfortable chair. That's what works for me. But if it works better for you, to go for a meditative walk or a meditative run, or if when you're practicing yoga, right? These are all activities where you're still going to be really focused on the breath, and you can be really purposeful about your thoughts when you're participating in that activity. And that's really what the point of meditation is being purposeful about focusing on the breath, or, you know, whatever your mind is going through right now, you know, investigating those feelings and really spending some time working on the brain as a muscle. So you want to allow yourself to fully experience meditation. They recommend you listen to the audio version, but they also have some text below. And some quotes that I really liked from this was, you know, noticing what arises. If it is a sense of physical discomfort, an emotion, or an anxious thought, giving attention to all of it, the facts, your reactions, emotions like disappointment or frustration, and anything else that comes up. So this really can be a time to, you know, investigate those feelings. Because a lot of times, you know, they're much deeper than we think they are, or they're shallower than we think they are. Like I said, I can get very frustrated about the state of the world and my life because I haven't eaten all day. And it's a lot easier for me to, you know, be conscious of like those thoughts, or to think about the positive right when I've, you know, given my body everything it needs to optimally function. So just giving yourself that time and spending a couple of minutes, you know, being compassionate for yourself can really make a significant difference. There was a quote in one of these that I really liked, and now, of course, I can't find it. One of the things I wish that it was like easier to highlight and save when you're on Google. But I really like how all of these just really focus on how the future is always uncertain. None of us know what's coming tomorrow, you know, now more than ever. We all have plans, dreams, and goals we're working towards, but approaching the new day with anxiousness inhibits our ability to be in the moment and truly love the journey that we're undertaking. And this also recommends, you know, a couple physical activities that you could do instead of meditating. But we've talked about this consistently, you know, over a couple of mindful morning moments, is really enjoying the journey, right? And yes, we want to, you know, set our GPS and our 411s every month and make sure we're doing the activities we need to reach our goals, but we're not pinning all of our happiness on reaching that goal. That we are, you know, doing what we can to enjoy the moment and enjoy the journey as we get there, because we all have things to be grateful for. You know, this all kind of weaves together. So I found a really great monkey mind meditation for today. It's a little bit longer at 10 minutes, but we've been doing this for 3 weeks now. I think it's okay if we incorporate 1 10-minute meditation here and there. So this one's actually from the Calm app, which is maybe the most popular meditation app. So this one's also available for download. A lot of things that this app also focuses on is sleep assistance. So if you are a person, you know, that struggles getting to sleep and you're looking for an app to help you kind of wind down and calm down at night, Calm has a lot of content to help you do that. You know, I like the Headspace content, but Calm has a lot of content to help you do that. They also have a couple celebrities like reading bedtime stories if you just kind of want some calming audio to listen to. So that can be a really great resource as well. So I'll go ahead and get this monkey mind meditation started. And then afterwards, I'll go ahead and wrap it up. So we might run maybe like 30 seconds over, but I'll go ahead and get this started.
And what to do about it. To start, find a comfortable position. Close your eyes and check in with your posture. Keep your upper body straight, but not rigid. Making sure you aren't leaning too far forward or too far back. Just find a comfortable, balanced position that's easy to sustain. Let your neck and shoulders feel soft. Allow your hands to feel heavy. Let your attention rest on the natural flow of the breath. The breath flows in the breath flows out. One breath at a time. And you can try counting the breaths a few times to strengthen mindfulness and quiet the thinking mind. Breathe all the way in and all the way out and count 1. Breathe all the way in and all the way out and count 2. Once you've managed to stay with the breath for 3 or 4 cycles, concentration usually deepens. Count all the way up to 10 if required, and then start again. Whenever you notice your attention has shifted or gotten lost, bring it back to the breath, nice and gently. Part of this practice is noticing when we've been distracted and then coming back. Having a busy mind is a natural part of sitting, so it's nothing to feel frustrated about. What's most important is the attitude of coming back. Each time you catch yourself lost in thought, see it as an invitation to return to awareness with patience and non-judgment. Always come back with a quality of friendliness, simply noticing where the mind is and re-arriving. Breathe all the way in and all the way out and count 1. Breathe all the way in and all the way out and count 2. Now gently relax your attention. Today I'll be answering a question asked by Joseph, a member of the Daily Calm community. He asked, do you ever find your mind racing all during your practice? Sometimes I end up more frustrated than when I started because I don't feel like I've accomplished anything with that day's practice. So this is a common question, and it's an experience most of us have had at one time or another. Yesterday I mentioned how we can't force our thoughts to disappear because it's the nature of the mind to think. Often when we stop to practice, the first thing we notice is our active monkey mind. It jumps around from thought to thought, like a monkey jumping from tree to tree, branch to branch. Our mind hardly sits still for a moment. Often it takes 20, 30, or even 40 minutes for my own mind to settle. Don't worry about the clock. Our goal is to simply observe what's happening, not to judge it. If you have a monkey mind, just notice the busyness. And when you're swept away by thought, pull yourself back. Do so gently, without any frustration. I want this to be clear. When there are thoughts, you're not doing anything wrong. All it means is you're human. Simply come back as soon as you notice you've been pulled away, and return with patience and self-compassion. This is the correct way to practice. When we take this approach, over time, we strengthen patience and non-judgment. So if there are thoughts, great. Let it be okay that there are thoughts. Let there be mental activity. Let there be discomfort. Let there be sound. Let there be emotion. Let everything be. When we learn to observe our experience without making it right or wrong, that's when we're mastering practice. Take it from Papaji, who said, "The ocean doesn't complain about the dance of the 10 million waves. So don't be concerned with the rise and fall of thoughts." Now slowly, feel into sensations in your body. Come back to sounds in the room. And when you're ready, open your eyes.
All right, I had to download an ad blocker for that video, and I'm glad it worked, because when I tested out this morning, there was like an ad in the halfway through, which is not really the best when you're meditating. So I really, again, I liked that meditation, you know, talking about that self-compassion. You know, you're a human being for having those racing thoughts, and the more you practice this, these moments of silence and these meditations, you know, the easier it is to kind of recognize your thoughts when it's happening, and gently bringing it back. I hope this was helpful for you today, Frank. I'll make sure I get the recording posted so anyone who missed it is able to watch it a little bit later. But thanks for joining me this morning.
Yeah, thank you. 10 minutes was helpful on that. Maybe we do that one again sometime.
Yeah, definitely. All right, I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Nicole.
No problem. Bye.